Before yielding back, I'd like to have it submitted to the record the fact that Secretary Gensler has not appointed a permanent IG after over 2 years in the job. I'd like to see in the record, and that what he is doing is every 180 days putting in a new acting. I think this is a way to thwart Congress and our oversight, and so we can't actually talk to an IG who's permanent. I like that placed in the record. Thank you.
Generally,
Wow, I cannot put it any better than what Ms. Wagner just did. She calls out the SEC for possibly using cycling out inspector generals over the last 2 years. None of them have seemed to have lasted more than 180 days. So the possibility that the SEC has found a huge loophole into how they get oversight into the SEC. Now, what is an inspector general? We're about to look at that, as well as some other clips here. It just how the SEC might be gaming the system. Now, whether it's coincidence, whether it's corruption, or whether it's incompetence, I will leave that up to you as the viewer to decide. But I think that we've all, if anyone's been paying attention in the crypto space, I think they can reasonably argue that something fishy is definitely going on, as a lot of us has been writing to Congress, and John Deaton has set up a button to connect to Congress. So without further ado, let's get started and let's see what an inspector general in the office of the SEC actually does. So this is the SEC's website, sec.gov/OIG// General About. So this is the Inspector General's mission. The mission of the Office of the Inspector General is to promote the integrity, efficiency, and effectiveness of the critical programs and operations of the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. Just stopping here a second, this is something we've all been wanting. This is exactly the office I think we've all been looking for, I might argue. The mission of this is best achieved by having the effective, vigorous, and independent office of seasoned and talented professionals. Those individuals carry out the OIG's office mission by conducting independent and objective audits, evaluations, inspections, investigations. Man, I wish we had one of those, right? And other reviews of commission's programs and operations. Preventing and detecting fraud. Oh man, that's a good one, right? Waste, abuse, and mismanagement in the Commission's programs and operations, identifying vulnerabilities in the Commission's systems and operations, and recommending constructive solutions, offering expert assistance in improving the Commission's programs and operations, communicating timely and useful information that the facility's management decision-making and the achievement of measurable gains, and keeping the Commission and the Congress fully and currently informed of significant issues and developments. You know, if this was an office that I didn't want because I didn't want Congress fully informed, this might be a position that I might want to let go every 180 days. I don't know about you all, but I don't know about you, but it's kind of hard for an organization, or when you're joining an organization, to get up to speed within 180 days, much less take any real action. But this may be the office that we need to get in touch with. And actually, go figure, there's a submit complaint button here. Maybe this, I'm very thankful for John Deaton and, the submit to Congress button that he put together on the website, but maybe this is where we should be going. We can go straight to Congress, yes, but this is the office that's supposed to report and investigate the SEC. Like, we've wanted an investigation this entire time. Maybe we should be hitting up these people. Let's listen to the other clip, because there's actually other parts that came before this clip that I just showed you previously that I think are really suspect as well, and also may show us and reveal some things as to how the SEC is gaming the system.
I thank you, Chairman Huizinga. Ms. Sharek, the SEC Inspector General's report on the SEC's management and performance challenges from last October. I know you were the first IG and you worked on this particular report. I think it was released under a second IG, but I know that this was, you were working on it as you were the first one appointed as acting. So uh, it highlights the concerns of many managers across the SEC about increased risks specifically and difficulties managing mission-related work. The report is very clear that these concerns are driven by the, quote, increase in the SEC's rulemaking activities that are being rushed with shortened timelines during the drafting process. These are directly from the report, and shortened public comment periods. The Inspector General is not only the only one urging the SEC to slow down. Last April, several members of this subcommittee joined a group of 47 bipartisan members in a letter to Chair Gensler asking for longer comment periods, particularly for significant rulemakings. And in September, 12 Democratic senators sent a similar letter. Yet, since the IG report was released, the SEC has not, underscore, not reduced its quantity or slowed down its speed of rulemaking. By the end of 2022, the SEC had introduced 34 new rule proposals, an increase of 143% compared to the annual average over the preceding 5 years of 14.
So let's stop it there a second. So we have the SEC cycling out its inspector general every 180 days. On top of that, they have a rapid increase in the number of rules that they're creating. Now, I'm not sure exactly what these rules are. Try to go do some research on them. A lot of legalese and stuff I'm not too into, to be honest. Maybe we can have one of our great lawyers in the space tell us more about what these different rules are and why they're so needed. And but what we do know is that these rules are being created, and there's very small comment period that we can't really get any feedback on anyone who these rules apply to understand what those impacts might be. Now, I deal with risk in organizations. I help, create high performing teams, and I try to help teams increase value to their customers. And one of the things that's key is feedback, because if you don't take in the information of what you need to do, if you're not making the right thing, then your customers are not going to be satisfied. Now, generally speaking, I think it's probably good when making rules in government to probably get feedback from the people that you're also trying to serve. So now the fact that, it's not just me thinking this way, it's the fact that we have a group of 40 something bipartisan people writing a letter to the SEC agreeing that, hey, you might want to extend your comment period so people actually can give you the feedback that you need, as well as, another group of, 12 Democratic senators also sending a letter to the SEC asking them for the same thing. But that didn't stop it. Apparently, it's still going on with rapid rulemaking. And again, the result is that they're not, that the Inspector General's office is not, and thinks that the SEC is not able to meet its mandate by protecting investors from all these rules being created, which is over the past 5 years, as we just heard, over 134% more than usual. So very strange there. Let's keep listening though.
The October released report made it clear that the volume and pace of rulemaking under Chair Gensler are threatening what the Inspector General exists to promote. And I quote, this is what what you worked on and helped draft put out here. Quote, the integrity, efficiency, and effectiveness of the critical programs and operations of the SEC.
So I'm going to stop it here. I'm going to play that again for those who didn't catch it.
What the Inspector General exists to promote. And I quote, this is what the...
So again, it's not just the SEC, it's the Inspector General's office. This rulemaking is stopping the Inspector General's office from doing the following.
Quote, the integrity, efficiency, and effectiveness of the critical programs and operations of the SEC.
The fact that the inspector general's office, because of all these rules, is having a hard time up, dealing with these rules and maintaining. I don't know what their role is in these rules, and if in fact they are getting overwhelmed. This is my assumption based off what Miss Wagner is saying here. But the if the SEC's inspector general's office is overwhelmed by all these rules being made, that would serve as a very good smokescreen to be able to try to do all the things that you want to do without any real accountability, on top of cycling out the leadership within that department every 180 days. I mean, that combination not like alarm anyone else? Like, would that not be like the reason that you would think that an organization suffers oversight and gets away with some things that you just never would think? That as many people in the crypto sphere would assume that they would have something exactly like this that's supposed to hold them accountable. But I mean, this is just shows me, well, here's the reason, right? This is the reason why we may not be getting the oversight that we need in this government program. So let's continue.
Sherrick, what with such short comment periods, are managers concerned that the commission is not getting the data they need from all stakeholders?
Some of the folks that we met with and some of the rulemaking divisions did express that there may be some increased risk there. And we felt, given the role that individuals that we met with and their experience, that it warranted inclusion in the major management and performance challenges.
Increased risk, I agree. What other tools does the Inspector General have to address the management problems stemming from the SEC's regulatory agenda?
So certainly, as you know, we will revisit these issues, and we're starting to work on and gather our staff together. This month was typically when we'll begin efforts to draft this year's report. So we will be following up on each of the issues that we addressed. Certainly, we have audits and evaluations that my office performs, and then investigations from the Office of Investigation.
Whoa, hold up. So, Office of Investigations. Let's look into that a little bit. So this is the report, actually, that Miss Wagner is referring to in her conversation with the, I guess, former head, because this report also shows that Miss Sherrick is the former head or the acting IG. She was also the acting Inspector General for 128 days, as well as this man here that I guess wrote this report, because he is the acting Inspector General, Mr. Nicholas Padilla Jr., as well as, to Miss Wagner's point of, rapidly rotating through this position. The other one here is former Inspector General Carl Heck. I don't know how to pronounce that. Hoeker, who retired. Maybe that started the different progression that we're on now. I wonder how many retired in this position. Maybe there was, who knows, the possibilities that, maybe a lot of them retired unexpectedly. I don't know who or what's going on, but there's definitely lots here. But the point I wanted to point into about the investigations that she mentioned is that there's the Office of Investigations that's part of the Inspector General's office. And so it says here in the report, in addition, the Office of Investigations, the OI, completed and closed 22 investigations during this reporting period. And so again, these are biannual, so this is just half the year. But our investigations resulted in 10 referrals to the U.S. Department of Justice, or the DOJ, 3 of which were accepted for prosecution. Now, I'm not sure about you guys, but my definition of, integrity and inside an organization, especially, my government, is that, probably, any more than one a year or even less would, I don't know what the level of acceptability is, but 3.5 a year of what I'm assuming are internally facing investigations. And, they 10 referrals to the Department of Justice, 3 were accepted for prosecution. Just cannot fathom what is going on at the SEC. And that's just with, again, cycling out the different leadership, as well as apparently making a crap ton of rules and creating what appears to be a ton of busy work for the Inspector General's office to try to go through. I wonder what they could do with consistent leadership and a good amount of focus and less busy work. I mean, they might be able to see what's really going on there, you think? But again, it's just my humble opinion. Would love your comments below. Maybe I'm way off. Maybe there's some things I need to know. I know I've wanted Hester Pierce to come on the show before. Definitely have some questions for her. Grateful for all she does for the community, but I'm still wondering if, if she could do more from time to time, to be completely honest. I do have some direct questions for her. Would love her on the show. Always an open invitation. But yep, we'll see if that ever happens. Back to the clip.
Could you please provide additional detail on these risks that are being created by the mission-related work that's being neglected because of the increase in rulemaking activities, as well as the causes and impacts of the, quote, coordination and communication challenges in the rulemaking process, particularly given potential overlaps in jurisdiction and differences in opinions?
I don't have any specific risks to any specific activity that I can offer to you. The conversations that we had with knowledgeable individuals were broad. They broadly described, as you mentioned, the volume and the urgency. So nothing, I don't have anything more specific.
It did say, though, that mission-related work was being neglected. Is that correct?
I don't know that we use the word neglect.
Yes, you said mission-related work
There's,
that was causing risks.
so generally, as I said, we did not have any specific details that were provided to us.
Do you anticipate that the IG will be following up on these issues, given that they impact the commission's ability to meet its mission, including protecting investors?
That the IG's office will follow up? Yes, absolutely.
The clip goes back to the one we started with at the beginning of this particular video, where Miss Wagner goes into how the SEC is cycling through inspector generals every 180 days. I do have another clip we're gonna look at here, though. So again, so far, cycling through inspector generals, 180 days. You get it right. Cycling through leadership every 180 days, the leadership that's supposed to hold the SEC accountable hasn't been consistent for over 2 years. That kind of tracks with kind of what I think some of the actions and different things we've seen that might have caught more otherwise. Just my humble supposition. The flooding of the Inspector General's office with rules that are keeping it from actually meeting its mission, that seem to be acting like a smokescreen for accountability on top of it. Now, to add to it, we're going to see here I know a lot of organizations are struggling with, being remote and figuring out the whole, after the thing that happened in 2020 that made us all go remote. But the fact, this just boggled my mind that, that the SEC is I guess I'm not surprised that they're struggling with it too. But again, this is going into the just add to maybe it's incompetence, maybe it's corruption, maybe it's coincidence, but we'll see, and I'll let you judge what further could be going on here. I'll give you my opinions afterwards.
I want to start thinking about it. All right, Ms. Sherrick, last week we learned that SEC employees will officially return to the office at the end of the month. According to reports, they'll be required to be in the office 2 days per pay period. That's twice a month is the pay period. So basically an average of 1 day a week. We also know that the SEC plans to move into a new 1.2 million square foot headquarters in Washington, D.C., which can accommodate 4,500 employees at one time. Given these new developments, will your office be reviewing the SEC's lease agreement as part of your audit plan?
We will certainly take that into consideration. We did not have that on our plan, but I take your point.
It would seem having a background in real estate and construction, that is very valuable real estate in downtown DC, and there's going to be a pretty penny paid. And if we aren't even filling that with the employees, that's a problem. So gentleman's time is expired.
So did everyone catch that? Let me just replay that part again.
Take that into consideration. We did not have that on our plan, but I take your point.
They did not have that on their plan. Now, don't get me wrong. I would love Ms. Sharek to be a huge ally to the crypto community, but the fact that the SEC is not tracking a very large building for this plan just doesn't make much sense to me. Now, with all that, to their credit, though, if there is a huge smokescreen of work and busy work going on, maybe it would be a lot harder to track. But if I, let's just put myself into the scenario that I think is going on here, that, if I were the chair of the SEC and I wanted to thwart Congress from overseeing me, and I'm cycling through this leadership, I'm providing the smokescreen of work, I might not want to come into the office to where, things might be bugged easier, or, to where other people might hold me accountable and see what I'm doing more. I might not want that on their plan. So, who knows what other went into to why that's not on Ms. Sharek's on her radar, because of all this other stuff's going on. So I hope you found this useful. I was just really shocked, and I thought that, this just kind of goes to explain everything that we've seen. When it comes to the SEC, and Sam Bankman-Fried, supposedly the SEC, especially Gary Gensler, met several times with Sam Bankman-Fried. So I wonder what might have been caught if, again, the amount of busy work was reduced and they had a consistent, some consistent leadership. I mean, I wonder if those meetings might have been more looked into. Maybe we should go ahead and write the SEC and submit a complaint for those that actually do the investigations on the SEC. Maybe we should submit a complaint there. Maybe we can get the entire crypto community to look into Mr. Gary Gensler and ask him that question, like what involvement did you have in the Sam Bankman-Fried deal, and why did you meet with him? There's also the Terra Luna deal, where the SEC charges Terra Luna and Do Kwon with defrauding investors. And February 16th, when the rug pull that happened was like, much earlier in the year, and we're all like, okay, well, that's happened, and we saw nothing for absolute months from the SEC. So I think some things might be getting in the way of protecting some investors here, but I guess better late than never. And shout out to Jeremy Hogan. I saw you liked my comment there, so thank you, sir. Also, of course, the SEC versus Ripple case, as I am JTXRP, and I should probably cover all the things that we found with Jay Clayton, and, who knows how far, the cycling has happened. I wonder if this is something that Gary took from Mr. Jay Clayton's time at the SEC, but, at least Jay Clayton was smart enough to do stuff as he walked out the door. Who knows, the story there, but I think there's a pretty clear picture. If you go to Crypto Law and look at what John Deaton's put together of things that are going on there. And, but let me know what your thoughts are. I mean, this just goes to explain so much. Do you think it's corruption? Do you think it's coincidence? Do you think it's incompetence, or some combination of the three? It's probably like, a 99.05, 0.05 split for me. But I'll let you know. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Let me know your questions. I'm JTXRP. I'm out.